Hari Hari, Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Rajajanaranjana Sodanandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Asoda Nandana Raja Janaranjana Sodanandana Raja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Raja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jayarat Hamadhava Kunja Bihari Jayaradha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shishi Radha Madhava Ki Jai, Shishi Radha Damodar Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayan Udiraye Nasta Prayasupadesu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloki Bhavati Maistaki. Okay, so today we're reading from, of course, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 2, and we'll read a few verses, starting with verse number 8. Vanavima Bhagavata Satapatra Patra Santa Papunka Ruchira Atiktim Tikmadhanta Tasma Yuyung Shashihani Vicharana Vidma Semayano Jadadiyam Tava Vikramostu. Word for word translation. Bhanav, 2 arrows. Imal, these. Bhagavata, of you, the most powerful. Satapatra patra, having feathers like the petals of a lotus flower. Shantal, peaceful. Punka, without a shaft. Ruchiral, very beautiful. Ati Tikmadhantal, having a very sharp point. Kasmai, whom? Yuyung Shashi, you want to pierce. Vane, in the forest. Vicharan, loitering. Navidma, we cannot understand. Shemaya, for welfare. Na, of us. Jadadhiyam, who are dull-headed. Taba, your. Vikrama, prowess. Astu, maybe. Mhm. Okay. Translation. Then Agnidra observed the glancing eyes of Purvacitti and said, "My dear friend, you have 2 very beautiful arrows, namely your glancing eyes. Those arrows have feathers like the petals of a lotus flower. Although they have no shafts, they are very beautiful. They have very sharp piercing points. They appear very peaceful, and thus it seems that they will not be shot at anyone. You must be loitering in the forest to shoot those arrows at someone, but I cannot understand whom. My intelligence is dull, and I cannot combat you. Indeed, no one can equal you in prowess, and therefore I pray that your prowess will be for my good fortune." Report. Agnidra thus began appreciating Purvacitti's powerful glances upon him. He compared her glancing eyes to very sharp arrows. Although her eyes were as beautiful as lotuses, they were simultaneously like pathless arrows, and Agnidra was therefore afraid of them. He hoped her glances upon him would be favorable because he was already captivated. And the more captivated he became, the more impossible it would be for him to remain without her. Agnidra therefore prayed to Purvacitti that her glances at him would be auspicious, not futile. In other words, he prayed that she would become his wife. Okay, next text 9. Seeing the bumblebees following Purvacitti, Mars Agnidra said, "My dear lord, the bumblebees surrounding your body are like disciples surrounding your worshipable self. They are incessantly chanting the mantras of the Samaveda and the Upanishads, thus offering prayers to you. Just as great sages resort to the branches of Vedic literatures, the bumblebees are enjoying the showers of flowers falling from your hair." Text number 10. "Oh, Pramana, I can simply hear the tinkling of your ankle bells. Within those bells, the titiri birds seem to be chirping amongst themselves. Although I do not see their forms, I can hear how they are chirping. When I look at your beautiful circular hips, I see they are the lovely color of kadamba flowers, and your waist is encircled by a belt of burning cinders. Indeed, and your waist is encircled by a belt of burning cinders. Indeed, You seem to have forgotten to dress yourself. Um, so I always like these descriptions are here in the Bhagavatam to actually look up like it's saying that her waist is the color of a uh, dumba flower. So thanks to the modern internet, we can just look up what a kadamba flower looks like to more deeply grasp. Okay, interesting. So yeah, I don't know. For those of you that want to look up what a kadamba flower looks like, it's kind of orange and white and spiky. And I believe there's descriptions of that when Lord Chaitanya exhibited ecstatic symptoms, also his body became like a kadamba flower because parts of his body were just like shooting out like like a puffer fish. Okay. Um, okay. So so her beautiful circular hips, the lovely color of kadamba flowers, and her waist is encircled by a belt of burning cinders. By a belt of burning cinders. Indeed, you seem to have forgotten to dress yourself. So her waist encircled by a belt of burning cinders. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. Maybe she has a dark red belt or something. I don't know. Okay, purport. With lusty desires to see Purvacitti, Agnidra especially gazed upon the girl's attractive hips and waist. When a man looks upon a woman with such lusty desires, he is captivated by her face, her breast, and her waist. For a woman first attracts a man to fulfill his sexual desires by the beautiful features of her face, by the beautiful slope of her breasts, and also by her waist. Purvachiti was dressed in fine yellow silk, and therefore her hips looked like kadamba flowers. Because of her belt, her waist seemed to be encircled by burning cinders. She was fully dressed, but Agnija had become so lusty that he asked, "Why have you come naked?" Hare Krishna. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshua Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tatati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sha Jirupam Sagrachatan Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidam Sha Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Okay. Hello, devotees. Welcome. Good morning. My obeisances to you. Um, yeah. So, of course, we're hearing here the further narrations of Nidra seeing Purvacitti in the forest, and apparently, obviously, by these verses, we're seeing that yeah, he's attracted to her, and he's trying to charm her with his sweet words. And um, it's interesting because I mean, obviously, he's become a little bewildered because what is this? Yeah, I mean, he first of all, he's actually seeing her as being without clothes, even though she has clothes. And but he's also, you know, saying how these bees are surrounding her and chanting the different mantras. Um, and okay, maybe they are, but it could also just be his illusion, um, because we see this also in the story of Bharat Maharaj when, yeah, when Bharat Maharaj became bewildered by the deer, and he became sorry, so attracted to this deer. Uh, he he was also just kind of over glorifying this deer, like, oh, my dear deer, uh, the earth has become so fortunate to have your lotus feet placed on it, and like this. So he just like, oh, this is, yeah, we can see that sometimes when we're overcome by lust, um, yeah, things might just seem like we might just kind of blow things out of proportion, right? Um, so I believe that this is what's happening here, because he calls her O Brahmana also, so that's interesting. And he's saying, "O Lord." So yeah, so obviously he's got a little crush, and like that. So yeah, what can I say? I mean, these verses are a little hard to speak about in today's day and age because things are a little sensitive nowadays in terms of like, yeah, gender roles, and you know mm, maybe traditional values kind of seeming a little too extreme. Um, but yeah, anyway, so let's see what the main points are from the purport, and see if we can just speak on that. So from the first one, verse 8, no, so verse 8, um, it's talking about how her eyes are like very sharp arrows. Um, so of course we know Cupid, Kamadev, is the kind of god of lust, you can say, and it's said that Cupid has 10 arrows, and so pretty much those 10 arrows, they are what kind of gets you to be attracted to someone. Um, so things like this is what we're seeing now, is an instance of Cupid's arrows working. So I don't know how many arrows uh, Agnidra's got in him so far, but I think it's like once you get to 10, you're just finished. So he's definitely got a few arrows in him. And the how those arrows come about, yeah, it's yeah, seeing the form, and then them seeing you. These are all things that are Cupid is just launching his arrows at you, and slowly, or maybe sometimes quickly, uh, having you become overcome by lust. Um, so her eyes were as beautiful as lotuses, and they were simultaneously like Sappho's arrows. So yeah, so he was afraid of them. So he was a because yeah, this glance of a woman, I mean, is very very powerful. Um, I know they taught us in brahmachari life that yeah, I mean, if you look into a woman's eyes, they're what they're thinking is exhibited through their eyes, how they like how they're looking at you. So therefore, that's to avoid kind of that direct eye contact. As a yeah, as a brahmachari who's trying to practice that separation from the opposite sex for cultivation of spiritual um, yeah stature. So because yeah, so through the eyes, a lot is able to be conveyed. So that's why it's for brahmacharis, yeah, just to avoid looking in the eyes because uh, yeah, we see here what happens. Um, so, but he's also saying, yeah, he's also wanting. You can see he's saying, well, I want these. I'm hoping that these glances are favorable. Um, so obviously, yeah, and it's mentioned that because he wants her as his wife. Okay. And then in the next purport, 10, um, and of course, the verse is explaining more about how he's hearing her tinkling ankle bells like that and seeing her form and that describing her form and looks like her waist with is encircled by burning cinders and it's the color of kadamba flowers like that and and he actually and then he's saying, well, yeah, it looks like you've actually forgotten to dress yourself. And so in the purport now, what's the point Prabhupada's making? Says when a man looks upon a woman with such lusty desires, he is captivated by her face, her breast, and her waist. For first, a woman attracts a man to fulfill his sexual desires by the beautiful features of her face. So for a woman first attracts a man to fulfill sexual desires by the beautiful features of her face, by the beautiful slope of her breast, and by her waist. Purvacitti was dressed in fine yellow silk. Yeah. Okay. So Hare Krishna, like I said, not easy topic to talk about. Um, but what to do, what we have to just, right, we're here for the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is the presence of Krishna after he departed, and obviously it's got some valuable wisdom in it. And so, what can we say? Just try to speak from what we've learned, maybe a little what we've realized, but hopefully, mostly just repeating the words of the acharyas and the revered scriptures. So, yeah, this is, of course, not an uncommon occurrence in the Bhagavatam. We see this many times, uh, like when the demons and the demigods they were churning the ocean of nectar with the Mandar hill, and so many things were coming out of it, and the the pot of nectar comes out, and then this plan is devised that okay, this Mohini Murti, who's none other than incarnation of God herself, will come and take this pot. Um, and so from this pastime, we see that pretty much the demigods are fighting, and then this incarnation of Krishna comes as Mohini Murti and has this pot, and then everyone's just bewildered and is because I believe she was then tasked to like distribute it. So correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like you have a bunch of rowdy people, demigods and demons, and then they're all kind of pacified by this very beautiful being in the form of a woman who was like, okay, no, yeah, you'll take a little like that. Um, so this shows just the power. I mean, they knew nothing about her. It's not like they knew her personality and like that. But just because she had just such a bewildering, such a beautiful form, yeah, she was able to bewilder so many powerful people. And of course, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, such the most powerful personalities in this universe. Uh, there's also instances of them actually being bewildered, and like Lord Shiva, even in front of all his disciples who revered him very much, and who were all like very renounced. Uh, Shiva's just chasing around this girl, and um, uh, in front of all his disciples, so he became completely bewildered. And similarly, Lord Rama. So anyway, so many pastimes like this. Of course, the Ajamil pastime where just Ajamil, I mean, is nice, born as a trained up brahmana and got a chaste wife, and just one day is out and about, and then sees these two low class man and woman, uh, kind of like, I don't know, they were hugging or kissing in public, and then he just became completely bewildered, wasn't able to control himself. Actually ended up pursuing that girl that he saw engaged in that activity, and we can say his life was ruined but of course it all worked out in the end because um, yeah, he had obviously some good fortune to name his son Narayan. But I mean, what can you say? It's a very powerful force. Um, this Maya. I mean, ultimately, what is it? It's Maya that's very powerful, and because she's so, I mean, one of the ways that she exhibits that power is um, by this very formidable um, attraction, sex attraction. So man attracted to woman, woman attracted to man. Um, so ultimately, yes, as Mother Mother Malati said, um, that don't blame the women. Yeah, don't blame and she said, "You blame Maya. Maya is really what you should be blaming. Of course, we don't want to blame Maya. She's just doing her service also, but at the same time, we want to be free from her grasp because yeah, we want to be free from that the illusory grasp that yeah, and it is ultimately the sex attraction is completely illusion because think about how, yeah, I mean, if you see a poodle walking down the street, you're not, no matter how nicely that's shaved up and groomed that poodle is, well, yeah, you're not attracted to this poodle. But if another dog sees that poodle, that dog might just go completely crazy. So, according to our certain bodies, yeah, we get a certain kind of like type of attraction. But obviously, yeah, it's just an illusion. It's just something that's kind of been bestowed on you depending on your body. Um, and like I said, this is, I feel like, exemplified by the fact that we're not attracted by a poodle, no matter how well it's groomed, no matter, what kind of organic biscuits from Southern California you're giving it. Yeah, we're not attracted. Um, but yeah, so ultimately it's Maya that we're trying to kind of separate ourselves from. Um, but what can we do? I mean, now we're here. Yeah, we're here in this material world. We are affected by Maya, and we're having to like interface with this world in this illusion, and at the same time try to make spiritual progress. So it's a tough, yeah, it's um, it's a tough situation. Of course, as devotees, we know, at least theoretically, we know, okay, yeah, this is this attraction is Maya, you know, this opposite sex, really, it's it's not going to ultimately fulfill me. It's not going to give me the ultimate goal of life, and it's not, the attraction I have for it. It's just actually illusion. So at least theoretically, we know that, and we're trying to become purified to know that. But now, what to do? In the meantime, how do we deal in the world? Um, so that's why we have, yeah, Varnashram Dharma, right? Um, it's the perfect social system for the upliftment of human society. So people are thinking, theorizing, so many books being written. Yeah, maybe this is the best way to structure society. Maybe this is the best way. I remember when I was in, I think fourth, no, not fourth. I was in middle school, maybe seventh grade or something, and we had to get in groups and just like pretty much write out what we thought the best society would be like, how to run it. And I think we had just read this Animal Farm, this book about like communism, like the pigs in the house and all that. Lord of the Flies. So um, yeah, we were reading these kinds of books, and so okay, now you get in groups and just like draw, do whatever, conceptualize perfect society. So yeah, my group, we got together, and oh, I think this was high school. Okay, yeah, this was high school. So my group, we got together and we thought, okay, yeah, anarchy. And so we just didn't do anything. We didn't write anything down. We didn't, draw any pictures, any like pyramids, how the, like social structure pyramid. We just said, okay, we'll do anarchy. So then when we went to do our presentation in front of the class, we said, yeah, our perfect system is anarchy, and we didn't write anything because there's no need to write. And of course, the teacher just like wasn't very happy with that and gave us a F and thought we were just being lazy. And I don't know, maybe we were just being lazy. Um, but anyways, yeah. So many different ways people have their ideas how to create society. But of course, we know Krishna gave the perfect system. Um, and the system is how we can, yeah, interface with society for our own spiritual upliftment. And therefore, the whole thing is meant to just create a yeah, create a nice, peaceful environment for us to practice spiritual life. And of course, within that, there's the varnas and ashramas, um, and but there are a lot of, yeah, other example of other things to do, like, and these things you find in Manu Samhita and probably many other places, but I know especially Manu Samhita is quoted in this regard. And it's just like, okay, how do you want it, how to be peaceful, I think, yeah, maybe a lot of like a lot of our problems in life, if we just were kind of like referred to these ancient texts, we might save a lot of time and trouble. But yeah, so Krishna, sorry, let me just take a sip of water real quick. So yeah, so Manu Samhita, yeah, there's so many things that are like because okay, like for varnas and for ashrams, that's there, but um, is that enough? Is that enough structure? Uh, can we just say like, okay, because I'm wearing white, and because I have a wife, and because I know I'm a whatever, a kshatriya, then I'm just following varnashram dharma. Yeah, no, I think there's a little more to it. Yeah, there's more intricacies within that. Like for example, I was just reading that for the lower classes, um, like the sudras, I mean specifically, yeah, for the sudras, it was mentioned. Prabhupada was saying that the sudras should offer due respects to the higher classes of society, and in this way there can be how to say like a system. There can be, yes, there can be structure, and because if not, it's like, because the sudras are meant to serve the higher three classes. And now if the sudras are just disrespectful, don't respect their bosses and like this, don't respect the politicians, don't respect the brahmanas, well, that's a very dangerous situation, because that's like a kid disrespecting their parents and not doing what the parents say. You know where who yeah, kids aren't going to be happy, no one's going to be happy. So like this, so there's little things like that. And actually, these 26 qualities mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, the divine qualities in the 16th chapter, Prabhupada mentions how certain ones are applicable for certain varnas and ashrams. Yeah. So there's more to it. And of course, yeah, I mean, of course, we have to like be practical. We have to be practical with these things. I'm not trying to say that, okay, we have to just completely go 0 to 60 and just completely follow the Varna ashram process. No, yeah, that's not the point. Um, but yeah, I mean, there are just certain kind of technologies and there's a science behind it, and there's certain tools we can apply like this. Um, so I guess what's my point in saying all this? Uh, that what to say? Well, I think we should just know, we should just acknowledge like the powerful forces that we're dealing with, and realize that, yeah, I do have a body in this material world, therefore I should be careful. Um, both for men and women. Um, yeah, we should be careful how we deal with each other. Should be careful what we expose ourselves to, and I yeah, I don't think that we can just. I mean, there's a reason we have all these. There's all these kind of cultural things in place, right? Like Prabhupada said, yeah, this movement, this movement, we will help the world by um, what is it? Culture, science, and devotion. Cul- I think, sorry, culture and devotion. Those are in there. I think there's one more. But yeah, culture. So what's the culture? What's the spiritual culture? There's certain things that we practice. Um, so I guess Krishna, Krishna. Yeah, I guess from this purport, yeah, I'm just taking, and that um, it's good to have these divisions. Like I don't want to see in that in ISKCON 10 years down the road, that the men and women are just dancing together, and there's just no regard for these gender classifications. I don't think we would get anywhere with that. And I think by the example of modern society, that's clear what happens when you just disregard these things, right? When you just put aside all traditions, and you just yeah, anything goes. Then what happens is, yeah, what you have today. Uh, completely weak men. Um, and why are men so weak? Yeah, because all this internet pornography, starting to engage in promiscuous acts from the age of, I think now I heard it's 11. So it's like, yeah, they're starting at an early age. And of course, we know the semen is a very vital fluid, and if one loses it, then one pretty much loses one's vigor, one's intelligence, all this. So it's very dangerous. And so we should try to be aloof from that, and like that. So, Hare Krishna. How to apply these things? I don't know. Anyways, I I, I don't want to, yes, just seem like some fanatic, but I just tried to say based on the purport, because we see, yeah, Agnidra, he's out there, and he's just completely bewildered by this woman's form, and so Hare Krishna, yeah. So it's a tough thing, and anyways, I'll just stop there. Yeah, if anyone has any questions or comments, um, please feel free to do so now.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. That was very, very nice. Um, Good point you made about the one ashram system. I believe we shouldn't, throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's got its place. Krishna designed it, um, and classism is going to exist even if we remove that one ashram system. What I mean by that is, I was listening to a lecture by Maharaj, and he mentioned that even in India, they don't like the one ashram because they feel like it's a superiority inferiority complex that it produces or includes. So they are like, you know, putting people in equal footing. But there's still classism. It's now the rich class versus the poor class. So it still exists. In some way or another, people will always divide. So if people are already dividing anyway, we rather choose what Krishna is dividing according to people's guna karma with Bhagasa, right? So it's already doing, it's already designed that way that we are different in many ways according to our karma and our qualities. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but there should be respect between each classes, so to speak.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, or else it's just, yeah. I mean, I guess in India, what you see is now the Vaishyas, because they have money, because that's their kind of dharma, is to make money, and with money comes power. So now, okay, because we have money, now we have the power. So, I don't know exactly what's happening, but I could see how that's the case. Opposed to, like, okay, you have money, but you're submissive to the higher classes telling you what to do with that wealth. Yeah. Yeah, even in communism, right? Someone ends up taking, I guess the Kalstrup told me, it's everyone's created equal, but some people are created more equal. So therefore they get more power. So hey, someone's gonna take the power like this. Um, yeah, it's a beautiful system. It makes a lot of sense, and yeah, like I said, just creates a peaceful environment for people to practice spiritual life. Okay, next question or comment, if anyone feels the desire or the urge or the duty to say something.
No one's gonna go. I think I'm gonna go again, possibly. First of all, I like to commend your your courage and brave. It's such a tough verse, especially today, and the sensitivity around it. And you did it very nicely and sensitively. At the same time, you didn't dilute the philosophy, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. That makes me feel a little better about life. Yeah, I mean there's this uh there's this seminar came out, right? How to mess up your life with Varnashram Dharma. And there was some people were like very much, uh, like completely offended by it. And how could you say this? How could you like have a seminar like this, how to mess up your life with Varnashram Dharma? This is just disrespectful to Prabhupada. And yeah, but when you watch it, like I've watched a good amount of it, and um, I mean, what it's trying to say, like, and I think it's exemplified this by this picture, and it's of a little kid wearing their father's shoes. So obviously, the little kid can't properly wear, has small feet, isn't able to properly wear a grown-up shoes. So it's obviously it's going to be awkward. So I think that's kind of analogous to like, yeah, us trying to fulfill this kind of very uh what do I say? Yeah, it's like a big task. I mean, not a big task. It's a varnashram. It's like mm, it's a it's just to do it is maybe in our current we're like little kids, and that perfect culture is like, yeah, that perfect Vedic ancient culture is like these big shoes. So we're it's if we just try to jump right into it, it's obviously going to be very awkward. Um, but but yeah, so I appreciate because this devotee who made the seminar, he's just saying like, let's just be practical. Like how are you going to implement some of these things right off the bat? It's not possible. So I think that's a great point that um, yeah, I think it's a valuable seminar that he made. Okay, so PKDD, I think from Kishori, yeah, I believe. Hare Krishna Prabhu, what is your opinion on sex education in middle school to kids? Thank you for your thoughtful class. Okay. Um, Sex education in middle school. Um, well, what I've heard is that I mean, I guess this like goes into the argument, right, of like exposing, like if you like expose people to something, but saying that okay, it's to educate them, um, what will actually be beneficial? Will they actually be educated, or will they actually will they just kind of um, okay, maybe another example, like uh, they're some parents they think, okay, my kids are gonna drink anyways, right? My kids are gonna drink, smoke, have sex anyways. So instead of having them do it out there, why don't we just have them do it in the house? Because then, we prevent them from kind of like whatever, driving drunk on the roads and like being out there. No, instead, we know these things are bad, drinking. We know we don't want our kids to drink, smoke, and all that. But let's just have them do it in the house, in our house instead, in like a more protected environment. Um, and I guess the thing is that, yeah, I mean, it seems like it seems like yeah, it's like a kind of a good idea, you know? Yeah, the kids are gonna do it anyways, so why not just give them the facility to do it in a protected way? Um, but of course, I mean, the government definitely doesn't agree with this, and you see the sign over the Dollar General here. It says, "Those who host lose the most." Um, and so how does that example apply? Well, I think if if you're like giving, you know, if you're kind of like giving the facility and maybe like giving out the condoms and stuff to kids, um, I think we just don't want to make it easier. Better is to like, I think the better education would be to like separate the sexes, honestly. Yeah, why why not do that actually? Why not just separate the sexes and you know, of course there'll be some intermingling, but I why not yeah, separate the sexes and then in that way they don't think about these things. And yeah, of course you teach them something. But what do you teach them? You don't teach them how to engage in illicit sex. No, you teach them like what are the horrors of illicit sex? What happens if you lose semen? What happens if you know uh, what are these kind of like principles of lust that we hear about in the Bhagavatam? That's a better education rather than thinking, okay, well they're gonna do it anyways, so let's just teach them how to use a condom. Of course, they're gonna do it anyways because you're setting up the whole system and you're setting up the whole kind of um, society in a way that's just leading them to do it. So it's like you're created this big problem and now you're trying to mitigate it. So that's just not very wise. Um, my take is that there needs to be the responsibility portion that needs to be emphasized, the consequences, etc. Yeah, I mean, I think they do. I don't know how. Yeah, and sex education do. I mean, that's in like elementary school, middle school. Yeah, I think middle school they have that. Um, but yeah, what do they teach you? I don't know. Honestly, all I can remember is just learning how to learning how to use these different contraceptive methods. At first, I hope they would talk a little bit also like the horrors of, you know, what's gonna happen. Like imagine, you know, if you have a child, what's gonna happen at an early age? Yeah, how's that gonna influence your life? I think there is some education about that, but yeah, they created this huge problem, and now they're just trying to put a little band-aid on it. So um, yeah, it's not very smart in the big picture. I guess what to do. Okay, Tarikabu, thank you. Please, yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Guru
Krishna.
Prabhupada had some thoughts on these topics. His position, first of all, was that there is no necessity for sex education. Everybody understands these things, and it comes naturally. It's not a requirement for education. Of course, the educational effort these days is to try to help young people to manage their lives responsibly and avoid some of the pitfalls. But their process of education, their concept is ill-conceived, and they have wound up doing actually is sexualizing children at your age. Now they are so-called educating them prepubescently. And there are actually instances now in which in preschool children are beginning to be taught these things. And the unfortunate result then is that they begin thinking about these things and experimenting at ridiculously young ages. It's just inappropriate. Srila Prabhupada's position, of course, is that there should be proper education, even separation of the sexes, which Srila Prabhupada also felt was a good. His instruction for us was that the children should generally be separated starting at the age of 5. But just simply separating the genders is really an artificial attempt to try to affect some sort of control, and ultimately will fail, as we saw earlier in the history of both the United States and Europe particularly. There was a time when schools were segregated. You had boys' schools and girls' schools. By the time young people got to their young teens, they were beginning to experiment sexually, and sexuality would begin to blossom. And because the genders were separated, then the result was that they began to engage in homosexual activity rather than heterosexual activity, because that was the only option available to them. Didn't really keep them from engaging in sexual activity necessarily. So proper education means that a person should be educated and how to control their senses, how to control their mind and senses. That's proper education, and that will inoculate an individual against the real problems of unregulated senses. But what to do? Society is so misguided at this stage, just completely out of control, and we are powerless to affect any kind of change in society directly. Who are we, and how can we tell anyone what to do? The educational system in this country or that country is going to do when society is pretty much out of control. There's no real intelligent intelligent guidance behind the media, so people are exposed to all sorts of nonsense, and the consciousness of human beings in general is terribly degraded. Jai Shri Shri Radha Damodar. I had a bunch of comments about Varnashram Dharma, but perhaps another day. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you, devotees.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Pakistan, Pakistan, Jaya Jaya.